Good, happy Wednesday morning, February 26th, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Wednesday morning, so let's begin. First up, New Hampshire joins 38 other states in probe of e-cigarette maker Juul. Attorney General investigates whether company marketed to children. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Kristen Carosa.
Explore the world just like J.C. Marie Smith with the Citi Advantage Platinum Select Card. With travel benefits at her fingertips, you can fit right in at the center of the world's most vibrant spectacles. Experience more meaningful moments with the card built for your adventure.
Investigators in New Hampshire say there has been a rapid increase in the use of electronic cigarettes across the U.S.
It's been a spike amongst children, not only here in New Hampshire, but across the country. So as Attorney General's offices, we have a responsibility to look into whether that spike in use is in any way related to unfair or deceptive business practices.
Their focus is on Juul Labs. Investigators are working to figure out if the company violated consumer protection laws.
Part of the investigation will focus on whether or not Juul intentionally marketed its products to minors, and also whether they made any false or misleading statements about the safety of its products, and whether there were misleading statements about Juul being a genuine nicotine cessation device.
Juul released a statement saying it has halted its advertising and eliminated most flavors in response to concerns.
It's really critical that we determine the truth behind their sales and advertising tactics.
Breathe New Hampshire, an organization working to educate teens and their parents about the dangers of vaping, says this investigation is a critical step. They say 1 in 4 teens are vaping in the Granite State.
We have to take the steps to protect the youth. So really to see the states working together to do that, it's past time that we hold companies like Juul accountable and really look into what their role is in this whole youth vaping epidemic.
Right now, there is no word on when this investigation will begin or how long it will last. Reporting in Concord, Kristen Carosa, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire company donates mini wheelchair to puppy unable to walk. Puppy went viral earlier alongside Pigeon Friend. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Gene Mackin.
There he is, Lundy, the puppy chihuahua who can't use his hind legs, snuggling up to his best friend, Herman, the pigeon that can't fly, both rescued by an animal foundation outside Rochester, New York. The viral video melted hearts around the world and caught the eye of walking pets in Amherst, New Hampshire.
It was great to know that there was something I could do to help this adorable little animal whose story was everywhere.
1 phone call and 1 rush delivery from New Hampshire to New York, and Lundy has his new mini wheelchair.
He'll sit right in it, and it'll actually work just like his back legs. So he'll be fully supported and able to exercise and get around and be mobile for the first time.
When the Animal Foundation was contacted, they said they didn't even know a wheelchair existed for dogs this size. But Walkin' Pets helps all sizes and kinds of animals.
We've done wheelchairs for not only dogs, but cats, rabbits, ferrets, an opossum, ducks and chickens. People need to know that a mobility problem for a pet Just doesn't need to be an end-of-life decision.
It's just the beginning for little Lundy.
We're able to get this dog to a point where he's more adoptable, more able to find his forever home, and I'm just excited for him to find his family.
In Amherst, Jean Mackin, WMUR, News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Cordon Select Board meets a week after firing police chief. Former chief says he had to walk home in underwear after unexpected firing. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Charisse LeClaire.
Winnisquam Marine Spring Open House is this Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. All 3 heated showrooms will be filled with vending.
There's no job description for a single worker in this town.
A town divided over the way its police department was dissolved and how it will move forward.
Let the people decide.
They just should have done it years ago.
Last week, select board members voted to dissolve the department. They said tonight they weren't happy with the work from now former chief Richard Lee and felt the town was wasting tens of thousands of dollars.
The town's been through a lot for a lot of years. It's time to try to heal and make the best decisions possible.
Lee learned at last week's meeting he was out of a job and says he's now exploring his legal options. He says he was someone the people trusted who would respond quickly to incidents.
There's not always going to be a trooper there, or it's going to be a delay for them because they're doing something else.
Division also over how well covered the town will be by neighboring departments and state police and whether voters should have been allowed to take up the issue on town meeting day.
You're going to have anybody that, can show up. I really think it was a bad decision on their part to take it into their own hands. They were 3 weeks away from putting it into the town's hand.
And this board is standing up and trying to get everything corrected.
State troopers have always been the ones to assist me, personally.
And the chair of the select board says they'll probably have to wait weekly until at least they can figure out a permanent solution. Live in Croydon tonight, I'm Charisse LeClaire, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Marine Patrol urges people to use aquatherms properly. Device keeps ice from foaming around docks. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cronin.
Winnisquam Marine Spring Open House is this Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. All 3 heated showrooms will be filled with vending.
Riding on Lake Winnipesaukee has been unusual this winter, especially now with warmer temperatures. These snowmobilers know they need at least 8 to 10 inches of solid ice, and they're taking every precaution.
We got these, which if you go in, you claw your way out. So we all wear them this time of year.
They're also watching the shorelines, where aquatherms are common on New Hampshire ponds and lakes. They move water around to prevent ice from forming and damaging docks. People have to be aware of the ice conditions around these devices.
I have a friend that has an aquatherm on either side of his property. He can't get out on the lake.
Aquatherms create little currents to keep ice away.
Then you have your small, propeller fan, if you will, that's used to disturb the water.
Marine Patrol Sergeant Joshua Dirth wants property owners to use them correctly. People need to have proper signs to warn people of thin ice. They also must have a permit for it through their town, and they can't open up ice outside of their property boundary. Improper use can result in a maximum fine of $1,000.
So we find that the majority of people fall into compliance once they know what's required of them. I don't think anyone wants to intentionally create an unsafe environment in front of their property.
These aquatherms are efficient, and that is why Marine Patrol is warning people who use them, as well as people who are out on the ice, to be aware of them, especially as our ice has been inconsistent this winter. Reporting live in Guilford, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Good advice there. Concerns over coronavirus lead to travel cancellations. Health officials recommend practicing good hygiene. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cherry.
My business inspires me to search the world for new flavors. That's why I carry the City Business Advantage Platinum Select Card. Every dollar I spend on my business turns into miles that feed my taste for adventure.
Over the last month, agents at Milne Travel say they've seen a spike in calls from travelers concerned about the spread of coronavirus or COVID-19.
We've seen about probably $500,000 in cancellations within the last few weeks.
Matt Gill says most of those cancellations are for cruises in Italy and Spain. Following more than 600 cases of coronavirus aboard the Diamond Princess, Cruise Lines International Association issued enhanced protocols for its members to prevent introduction of the illness aboard ships. But Gill says travelers may still have to face the reality of dealing with issues overseas or losing money.
There's actually no policy in place for canceling for fear of the coronavirus.
According to the CDC, travel restrictions are in place for China and South Korea. Travel within the U.S. is still considered safe.
There are other areas that are also of concern, and that includes Japan, Italy, Iran, and then Hong Kong as well.
If you do decide to travel, state health officials say wearing masks in high-density areas is not necessary, but using good hygiene is.
Avoid being around sick people, and then making sure that you're washing your hands frequently. If you don't have access to soap and water, you can use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer, and then not touching your face, your mouth, nose, and eyes frequently either.
And travel agents still recommend buying insurance, especially for lengthy or expensive trips outside the U.S. They say if you do become sick during your trip, insurance could cover medical and cancellation expenses.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Dow features up slightly as Wall Street attempts to come back from monster two-day slide. Features were slightly up after stocks worth day 2 rout in more than 4 years, and heightened concerns of the coronavirus will uphold global economic growth. As of 1:16 a.m. Eastern Time Wednesday, features on the Dow Industrial Average rose 43 points, pointing to an implied opening gain of 96.64 points for the index at Wednesday's open. S&P 500 and NASDAQ features also pointed to opening gains for the two indexes on Wednesday. Top moments from the CBS News Democratic debate in South Carolina. Let's take a listen to that video from CBS News.
Take a look at some of the biggest moments of the night.
Of the last 50 polls that have been done nationally, I beat Trump 47 of those 50 times. What every study out there, conservative or progressive, says Medicare for all will save money. Ours will cost about $45 billion, not $60 trillion.
No, I was
We are looking at a party that has decided that we're either going to support someone who's a democratic socialist or somebody who has a long history of being a Republican.
9 people shot dead by a white supremacist. Bernie voted 5 times against the Brady bill. I'm not saying he's responsible for the 9 deaths, but that man would not have been able to get that weapon with the waiting period had been what I suggest until you are cleared.
The mayor even said that they disproportionately stopped white people too often and minorities too little. There's 7 white people on this stage talking about racial justice.
At least I didn't have a boss who said to me, kill it. The way that Mayor Bloomberg
never
alleged
said that.
have said to one of his pregnant employees.
Nobody accused me of doing anything other than just making a comment or two. And what the senator did suggest was that we release these women from the non-disclosure agreement. I did that 2 days later.
The time has come for us to stop acting like the presidency is the only office that matters. Not only is this a way to get Donald Trump reelected, we got a House to worry about. We got a Senate to worry about.
Okay, and there you go on that video. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.